very important information that is kind of like bonus information that help us better understand what we're reading. So inside of this, we got a map. So it shows us that in this big continent of Africa, this is the country of Kenya. And then we're given a picture of Kenya's flag. We're told the capital of Kenya is Nairobi. We're told how many people approximately live in Kenya. And we're given a little paragraph that tells us about where Kenya is and also what the climate of Kenya is. And when we talk about the climate of somewhere, we're basically talking about what's the typical weather there. Is it cold? Is it rainy a lot? Is it dry? Is it humid, cold? What is it? And so here we're finding out that Kenya is in East Africa, and it's actually in northeast, which if we look at this compass up here, it's kind of in the middle of being east and being north. So it's right here. It compared to the whole continent of Africa. It's kind of like up in the upper corner. Okay? So it's both northern and eastern. Right there. So, and we can see that on this map. Out of this whole thing, it's up in that corner. So we see that is where it is. And so we want to fill out the geographical features. That's saying where is it and what is it like. So geographical features. Where is it? It's in East Africa, or you could put northeast. And it's also a desert. It's also a desert. Okay, and we learned that it's hot there in the desert part. Right? And so that's our climate. It's very hot and humid. And we're going to want to remember that it's hot and humid as we read more of the passage, because the climate has to do with why there's a challenge in accessing books in Kenya. So we'll talk about that more later. I'm going to go ahead and read this first paragraph. We're going to read it a couple of times. So I'm going to read it once, and then we will read it again. Okay, it says, the roads to Bula Iftin, 200 miles northeast of Nairobi, are impassable because of the desert sand, even for cars with four-wheel drive. But young people who live in nomadic villages in the area are hungry for books. So librarians use the most economical means of transportation, camels. So after reading that and looking at our text features box, we can figure out that the geographical features are that Kenya is in East Africa and it's a desert in the north. So you want to put that down right there. And real quickly, I also want to talk about who is facing the challenge. Who's facing the challenge? I saw something about young people. It says young people who live in nomadic villages are hungry for books. So I could put in that spot, I could say young people in nomadic villages. Also, since we know from yesterday that it's specifically students needing books, we could put students in Bula Iftin, because Bula Iftin is the specific village in Kenya that we're talking about. So either of those options will work. But before I reveal that answer, I just want to go back here and I want to talk about a few new words that I'm seeing. I see a word, impassable. That's a new word to me. So I'm going to read that part again. The roads to Bula Iftin, 200 miles northeast of Nairobi, are impassable because of the desert sand. Using our context clues, which are the words around our new word. So we're looking at the sentence and words around our unknown word. Use those clues. What do you think impassable means? Impassable means we cannot pass through it. So the roads are impassable. People cannot get through those roads and pass through to get where they need to be. And cars don't go through. Cars with four-wheel drive, which are really strong cars, those aren't even able to get through. And so for that reason, it's really hard to get access to books. And you know what? That has to do with our climate. The weather is so hot and humid that it's so sandy that sand just covers the roads and makes it so difficult to get through. So that's that word impassable. It really tells us a lot about the challenge that students in Bula Iftin face. The other word I want to remind you of is nomadic. Nomadic. If someone is nomadic or lives in a nomadic village, it means people pass through. So if there's a nomadic village, Bula Iftin, there's not the same people living there. So we live in Abingdon, and some people move in and out, but pretty much people stay here for a long time, right? They don't just leave every couple weeks and go somewhere new. So in Bula Iftin, there's constantly people passing through because they're nomadic. They move from place to place. They don't just live in one place. They travel around and live all across the country, I'm sure. So nomadic villages are villages where not just one group of people live. It changes all the time. So that means probably at those schools, someone might go to school in Bula Iftin for 2 weeks and then leave. Or maybe they'll go for a couple months and then they'll leave and go to a different one. So that's, if there's a school there, it's probably always changing what students are at that school. All right. And one more word. I almost forgot it. So librarians use the most economical means of transportation. Economical means of transportation. Camels. Economical means, it means inexpensive, so it's cheap and it's easy. So using camels is the cheapest and easiest option for people in Bula Iftin for getting books and carrying anything for transportation. They can use camels. All right, so again, thinking about that first paragraph, it's repeating everything. We have students of Bula Iftin here. And, real quick, before I reveal it, I want you to type in the box, based on that first paragraph, what challenges are faced? There's a few different ones, so you could choose one or list them all. Type into the box, what challenges are faced on these pages? All right, we have 3. There's difficult access to books, the sand covers the road, and it's hard for cars to get through. So all 3 of those challenges are related to one another, but they're also each their own challenge. Because of the sandy roads, it's hard for cars to get through, and therefore it's a challenge that they don't have easy access to books. It's very difficult for them to get new books. And how is the challenge overcome? Go ahead and type that in. How is the challenge overcome? Librarians use camels to carry books and a tent. So we read all of that and got all of that information just in that first paragraph. So librarians use camels to carry books and a tent. They put the books on them, and they also bring a tent so that people can read underneath it. And here we even see, look at all these kids around the camels. All right, now I'm going to read paragraph 2. Library camels are on the road 5 days a week. They can carry heavy loads and need little water in the heat of the desert. One camel may carry as many as 500 books weighing about 400 pounds. A driver and a librarian divide the books into 2 boxes. They saddle them on the camel's back, which is covered with a grass mat for protection. A second camel carries a tent that serves as a library roof. So that tent is kind of like the indoors. It gives them shade. And remember, because we read that it's so hot and humid there, having a tent is important so they're not just sitting and reading right in the sun. All right, so I'm going to add to my how the challenge is overcome because I read more details about how camels are used. So I put that camels are used, but then I want to say how and why. So camels walk in the sand.